Welcome to the Tree of Truth podcast with Lidstone and Lambeau. In this podcast, we search for common sense truth from a heightened human consciousness perspective. A heightened perspective means we understand the simple logic put forth in a book like The Four Agreements, where we human beings are nothing but a product of the words and the narrative we choose to believe. It also means we understand the simple logic put forth by George Orwell, who proved that in no uncertain terms, that if the words or narrative put forth is deceptive or false, then those human beings foolishly bamboozled by the false narrative live in a reality that's false. So this is simple stuff. Today we will examine the war between freedom and central control. A war which I believe is part and parcel of every war we fight as human beings on planet Earth. Those seeking freedom versus those who refuse to relinquish control. Simple stuff. In this podcast today, we hope to explore the Orwellian, hence clandestine world of central control. We will explore today's freedom fighters, i.e., those resisting control, namely their number one nemesis, which is Donald Trump. In doing so, we hope to explore some of this battle's most monumental events, like that of the so-called insurrection on January 6th. Today, we are certain to get a unique perspective from a friend of mine that we'll call the Desert Brat. She has spent decades of her life searching for proven truth in the minefield of clandestine Orwellian deception. The world our guest will depict is far more bizarre and frightening than the make believe world of Harry Potter, that's for sure, and yet it's factual, not fiction. We're also going to ask her why she believes the good guys are winning in a cesspool of corruption. So stay tuned. All right, my name is Matt Lambeau, and I'm a human consciousness researcher and author, and I will represent the Western Hemisphere. With me is the lovable Lucinda Lidstone. She's a trained psychotherapist practicing for over 20 years, and she has her own very successful podcast called Talking Tea Leaves. And she will represent the Eastern Hemisphere. Together, we are your East-West connection in hopes of someday uniting the world around common sense truth, or what we call our Tree of Truth. You can find this podcast and everything else about Lidstone and Lambeau at the treeoftruth.org. That's treeoftruth.org. So with that understanding, let's welcome the lovable Lucinda Lidstone.
Hello, my
Hello.
darling.
Hello, Lucinda. How are you?
Yeah, I'm okay. I'm a bit croaky,
A bit croaky
but
today.
hopefully I won't be doing much talking because our lovely Amy is going to be chatting away to you.
Yes, so we'll keep it. So, on your side of the globe, how are things these days?
Yeah, a bit
Any-
depressing, not too good.
Right, right. It seems to slowly be sliding into the abyss.
Yeah, I'm afraid so. And still rainy, 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 rain
Is it
nearly every
really?
day. Yeah,
Yeah. Wow. How about that? That'll dampen the spirits of anybody.
for sure.
Yeah. Shoot, shoot. Well, the beauty is you and I are ones that can find silver linings in the muck, right?
Yes, we
Like it's
try. We
Friday.
try.
We try.
Yes.
We try. All right. So, Lucinda, this is a big moment for us. I'm not even sure which episode this is, but it is our maiden voyage with a guest.
Yes.
Okay. And those of you that haven't listened to the earlier podcast, please do so, because I'm here to tell you with 100% conviction the content of those podcasts, the topics we discuss, there's nothing trivial. Every one of those podcasts is truly, I believe, an intellectual, worthy conversation from a heightened human consciousness perspective. So there's an incredible value in there for people who are searching for truth, right? I can
Right.
flatter ourselves. So with no further ado, okay, again, Amy is a lifelong friend of mine. I went to to grade school with her. And
Yeah.
I can say with certainty, I have enjoyed my conversations with her over the years. And she is one of the most intriguing people in terms of her perception and her understanding of the way this world works of anybody that I've met. Okay. So, Amy, when you go ahead and join us here, thank you so much for being with us. And if you can, tell the listeners a little bit about yourself, maybe form a little perspective. So, as we ask you questions, they'll understand where you're coming from.
That's kind of a lot of pressure. That's a big, broad
It is. It is.
description of myself, but thank you for all that.
Yes.
And yes, we've known each other forever and ever. Grew up together, went our distance, came back. It's like our connection's always been there. And Lucinda, what a pleasure it is to finally meet you in person. I've watched you, I've heard you. I appreciate everything that you say and you do, and you're definitely straight on.
Oh, bless you. Thank you so much, Amy.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm sorry about all the rain, but at the same time, it's going to be beautiful and green, and the flowers are going to blossom, and things are going to be gorgeous as the rain shifts and the spring comes. So try some honey and some lemon. That may help with the throat a little bit.
Yeah, yeah,
That's me
definitely.
and
Yeah.
cinnamon. Cinnamon's a big one.
Cinnamon, yes.
Matt, as far as me, gosh, I really have started this journey. I think I was a kid, and when there were injustices in school, you probably remember I'd start protests and sit-ins and
Right. Right.
be the one in the office, and phone calls to the parents as far as what was going on. And one parent was definitely behind me in a lot of things. Now and then she'd go, "You're a little far off, but okay."
Right.
We grow up believing a lot of different things and reading things and being told things. And there's always something inside of us that tend to question whether it's, truth or not. You know, Starts out when we're young. And that's when I started, is questioning. You see commercials and people start doing all these things. You listen to the news and you're like, is that real? Is that not real? Who says it's real? How do we know? And now today, the way things are, I've been in the graphic design business for years and years, so I really understand AI. I understand how to manipulate screens in the back. Today this is my patio, part of it, one of them. And but I could put a flag back here. I can put storm clouds back here. I can do anything. I can put a war field back here, and you would think that I was there on the battlefield.
Yeah.
And those are the kind of things that we're seeing. And sadly, so many people have got what I refer to as cognitive dissonance, which means that everything that they see, they believe, but what we say, they're like, oh no, can't be true. Until they see it, feel it, it impacts them personally. They're not going to believe, and that's a tough hurdle to get over sometimes. So it's kind of up to us to show, to teach, to explain. It doesn't matter how much research we do or necessarily where our journey has taken us and brought us to, unless what we say and what we've got in here, the true conviction, our truth of what's real and what isn't real, is relayed in a manner that they can relate to. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It does. That
Yeah.
the term that I use for these people that are basic, I believe you're describing people who we perceive as asleep.
Yeah.
The term called sheeple, okay, because these people who, like you said, haven't yet touched, feel, or grasped, okay, those of you that have gone beyond that in search of truth, you've risen above it, you know what's true, and below you are these sheeple people that you have to go toe to toe with, because they're going to oppose you even though you've got truth on your side. And the reason I use the term sheeple is when they're masked, like sheep, they can become dangerous, especially to our liberties.
Yeah. Yeah, because they don't understand it. They don't want to look. People don't have the time to look, to dig. I've gone down so many rabbit holes that I've put myself into some positions that most people would shiver. They would absolutely shiver. Because, it's like you go to a website and then they have a website, right? You see 2 or 3 websites. And if you go into those, you go into more and more and more and more and more. And not many people have the time to do it or the desire. And they want all of us to do it for them, right? So, but yet we do it. We bring the information to the table, and they're like, oh no, couldn't be. Our government wouldn't do that. Our military wouldn't do that. Our media wouldn't do that. Our education system wouldn't do that. Oh, yes, they have. Yes, they have. And they've been doing it for centuries, not just the last few years, not just a few decades. It's literally been centuries that we've had crap, if you will, fed to us over and over and over. And as these things get fed, like a commercial, you see it, you see it, you see it, you hear it, you hear it, you hear it. Now you start to repeat it in your conversations with your family, your friends, your coworkers, whoever, and now you're living it. So in a sense, it's almost a manifestation. Don't know if that's a word that some people want to relate to or not, that they build this big picture, but yet that's not really the reality of what's taking place. It's like some people say, oh, DC is open. The White House is open. No, it's not. It's closed. It has been. And if some people had any idea what's underneath the White House and what's taking place under there, they literally shit themselves. Shit.
So now I'm gonna stop you there and form, and Lucinda, for sure pop up if you've got questions. So form a context around that. You're explaining how basically people are living in a delusional world. Okay, like
They're
you
living in
say,
the dark.
right. So kind of form a more general context in terms of who's in control behind the deception. What is that? What is the help them paint a picture for what you recognize that others aren't seeing.
Okay, well, when you watch the media, and it doesn't matter what station you watch, it could be CNN, ABC, CBS, Fox, local, whatever stations. It doesn't matter what you're watching. They have a certain script that they follow. And if you switch from channel to channel to channel, they all say the same thing, only a little twisted difference. And they do that because they're under a contract. That this is what they have to do. This is what they have to say. Journalism isn't what it used to be. When it comes to what you see televised on these broadcast stations that are controlled, people don't understand. It's, the IMF, it's the it's the WHO, it's, further than the Rothschilds and whatnot. It's way deeper than all that. And most people don't even know who they are, which doesn't,
Would you
at
say,
this point,
would you
it really
say
doesn't matter.
is it orchestrated Orwellian
Yeah,
propaganda?
it's absolutely orchestrated. Absolutely, 100%.
Okay.
And
And
it's to
so,
create a thought form. It's to create a thought form, a picture in the everyday lives of the majority of people, that they believe it, that they follow it. And why do they do that? It's all about control. They want to control the people. What controls people? Fear. What controls fear? War, money, lies, deception. And until they start seeing it, I hate to bring up Biden because he's not even here anymore. They're just seeing a paid actor. But what was Biden, and you listen to his previous speeches years ago when he was actually still alive, that was Biden. Now you look at this, broken, delusional character, and people still think that he's doing a great job. Who really? I mean, do they really believe that?
Sorry, can I
No.
jump in there?
Yeah, of course.
So, I mean, surely anybody that watches Biden, how can they even believe that he's even halfway competent? Are you really telling me that people over there still believe he's doing a good job? And unbelievable.
If you read what I consider to be the fake polls, then yeah. And the diehard people that absolutely are so entrenched with the belief of the democracy system, the United States, they don't believe that it's, that it was a corporation, has been a corporation. They still think that it's, free. No. It's been a controlled box for a long time that's controlled the people. And, they talk about slavery. well, shit, we've all been slaves forever, for absolute ever. It's not black, white, yellow, green, orange, brown, whatever. It doesn't matter who you are or what you are. If you're paying taxes, you're a slave to the system. If you follow the garbage, you're a slave to the system. Once you break free of it and realize that it's all been crap. I really upset a friend of mine not too long ago, 83-year-old man. He worked for, I don't know if I should say who he worked for or not, but anyhow, so he worked for this particular industry for years and years and years. And by God, he swore by them. They were just fantastic, this and that. And then I broke his heart because I told him, I said, you realize that they built things to support both sides of the war. They built for that country and they built for our country. There's a no lose. It's a win-win. They get paid no matter what.
Yeah.
He couldn't believe it. And then as I was showing him more and more proof of it, he was like completely disheartened, and he gets his pension and Social Security and whatnot from them. And it's like, yeah, dirty money.
Right. So you're basically trying to convey to this gentleman the reality that is real and helping him understand that he's being deceived. So can you explain a little further who you believe is behind the deception? Okay, and again, for listeners that aren't familiar with George Orwell, he wrote a book called 1984 where he explains what happens if there's deception on a global scale, if the powers that be control the media and control the narrative, that you can create a delusional situation. So in your world, who is behind the deception, and help Lucinda understand the depths to which you believe we are being deceived. Like you make reference to Biden, Lucinda came back with a question saying, does the people still believe the man is competent? And I know that you believe that it's all an illusion.
Yeah.
Yeah. So why don't you bring us up to speed with who you think is behind it? Or I shouldn't say think, I know who is behind it and the extent, because I think that will, like, you've blown my mind with that. I've been reluctant to adhere to it. Right. But you
Yeah.
just tell me, just wait and the truth will surface itself. So bring us up to speed with a larger picture.
That's really broad. It really is, because there's been so many players involved. And sadly, I have to say that the United States government corporation, understand that DC, and those that have been up there in the House, with the exception of the last administration, they've all been a part of it. When you look at Clinton, when you look at the Bushes, when you look at Reagan, when you look at, keep on going down the line, they've all been a part of this whole thing. It's a big machine. And it's the military industrial complex. It's the all the alphabet groups. And do you know what I mean when I say that? FBI, CIA. Okay.
Yes. Okay.
So all of them are part of it. And the big families, the large families. But today, and I've talked to you about this many times, Matt, when you look at the people that are leaving, right? Whether it be leaving the planet, they're dying of odd causes, they're resigning, this and that. That says a lot about the scope of what's happening in the takedown of the cabal, if you will, the Illuminati, the dirty players. Basically, it's not who anymore. It's really more of how many are left, how many have to still be cleaned out, and more and more and more are coming. You saw.
Okay, so now let me ask you, insert here. This is you suggesting, this is where I preface it by saying that you believe the good side is actually winning, that behind the scenes, we're not seeing.
This is the world's biggest military coup that's ever happened. And until people realize that and understand it, and that's going to make them angry, because they see the military as they're there to protect, they're there to, to serve the people. Sure, they are, but there's more than one military. more than one. And I don't mean just Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine. There's more than one. And when you start looking, you'll start finding of who's who. And when you start listening to the actual generals, and I'm not going to be snarky about General Michael Flynn, but he's not one that I necessarily listen to or pay great attention to, because he and his format has been so much about money. Yes, it is awakening, but they're a lot about money. Now, the true generals that are speaking out, that are giving the truth, sharing what's real, they're not asking for money. Neither are the real, I'll call them patriots, that are putting out the real truth, the information. They're not asking for money. You know, they're doing it because they want the good for the people. They want the people to understand. They want them to see the truth, no matter what. And sadly, I think people are a little afraid of the truth, no matter how painful it is. It was crushing to me when, you know, I knew what was right, but yet I had that inkling of, gosh, maybe it's not, you know, maybe I'm just wanting to see something that just isn't. And then when I started finding out that everything that I ever learned, everything I was ever told was crap, it broke my heart. I mean, my mom, you know, my grandparents, other family, family that was in the military, the police force, teachers, you know, it was all crap. It's like, wow, because they were fed it. So they believed it and they taught us, you know, and so from there, what do? We learn. Do our kids question us ever? Absolutely. Well, they think that this is the truth because their little social cliques and their social media says this or that. You know, once they step away from it, they see things a little bit differently and they start questioning things a little differently. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, it does. Lucinda,
Yeah.
your thoughts on where Amy's going with this?
Yeah.
Are you grasping what she's speaking about? Have you got some, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm totally with you. And so ultimately people will say that behind everything is just a bunch of old men. Yeah. You know, the Rothschilds, whoever, all the people that you've listed. There's a bunch of
Well,
old
yeah,
men.
and young also, because you've got, you know, you've got your people in the music industry, the Hollywood elites, you know, your favorite celebrities, your sports stars, your all of them. They're all part of this. You know, how many times have you seen somebody get down on their knee? They turn their back to the flag. What does that say? What does that say about them? Where are they? You know, they're with, I'll
So
call it the dark side.
who do you, because so my point is to the people that say, oh, it's just a bunch of old men, you know, in terms of the hierarchy. And of course, there's people underneath. It's like a big pyramid. And that's my
Yeah.
point. Like, even if you get rid of all the old men who are going to die, I mean, they believe they're not. They believe they're going to upload their brains or their consciousness into AI, whatever. But even so, those systems, the systems that come from the top of the pyramid are all in place. So does it really even matter who the
They're all
players are?
crashing.
You think they are crashing?
Oh, yeah.
Why do you know?
Oh, yeah.
Why do you know that? How do you know that?
Everything that everything that I watch, everything that I'm experiencing, and the people that I'm coming in contact with. I've got friends that are in a lot of different layers, and I know what they've been through. I know what they've seen. I know what I've seen personally. So with that, I know it's crashing. I know it's crashing. It's basically, we're in the final stages of this whole thing. And it's not something to be afraid of. Yes, there are going to be some harsh realities for people, and that is going to create some real issues, but it's going to be up to us that know and that have been a part of this for so long to be able to help them and guide them through their like mental anguish that they're going to really feel, because it's a crushing thing. It's very scary. a lot of the things that are going to be seen, and that I've seen personally.
What do you think about all your top celebs like Oprah Winfrey, etc.?
She's dead.
There's hundreds and hundreds of them who are selling their properties, and they've all
They're
got
dead.
their underground bunkers.
They're dead. They're dead. You're seeing actors. They've all gone through tribunals. They've all been taken in. They've all had to do. Some of them have made agreements to bring truth to the surface, and those that went against their agreement have been taken out. And it's not just in one area. People seem to think that, oh, Gitmo, Guantanamo Bay is the only place. No. Mm-mm. There are ships that are stationed all over the continent, all over everywhere, that those are used for military tribunals. And I want to touch on Trump for just a moment. And that is Matt, we talked about this a while back. When Trump was inaugurated, who did you see? Who did you see behind Trump?
Honestly, I can't remember. Tell me.
All right. So when the military walked down, all right, and they were standing behind him, you got military intelligence on one side, and you got JAG. JAG is the Judge Advocate General for, okay? Those right there. And with Space Force, they have literally everything. Anything that you do online, or anything you text, pictures you take, your medical records, conversations that you have on whichever social media, it's all recorded. It's all placed. It never, ever, 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 ever goes away. Never. You can delete it, but it's never deleted. Everything that you do. And there's specific keywords that tend to pinpoint who you are, where you are, what you're talking about. And that might be, you might get shadow banned because of it. I know you know what I mean by shadow banning.
Absolutely.
Where, yeah, it comes down and you're just like dead in the water. You got, 100,000 followers, and then all of a sudden you got nothing.
Right. And so, Lucinda, what again, the part that I find so intriguing is her certainty in this regard. And the way I perceive it is she believes that the good side, that Trump and the forces from outside, I just refer to the dark side as basically starts with the Washington establishment. Call them Democrats, call them Republicans, but the establishment. And from my perspective, that's why
Don't
Trump
forget the
was
Vatican.
hated. Yeah. And
Yes.
so Amy believes, and has evidence to support it, that the good guys are actually winning this thing, that within the ranks there's clandestine activities. Lucinda, are you familiar with a term called QAnon?
Yes.
Okay,
Wait,
yeah.
wait.
So
Wait.
I know there's going to be more to it, Amy, in terms of what my perception of it is, but my perception of QAnon, right or wrong, and Amy will be able to explain it in detail because I might have been misguided. But the part that I found most intriguing about that concept when I learned about it was the fact that everything's digital, like Amy just explained. There's nothing that can be deleted. And the fact that all of that digital trail exists, it means those that are culprits in this have evidence they can't deny. And the
That's right.
uncovering of that evidence, slowly but surely, the good guys are doing. And but there's more to it. Amy knows a much deeper perspective about QAnon and the way it was misrepresented. And why don't you elaborate a little bit, Amy, on QAnon and what that really means to you?
Okay, first of all, there is no QAnon. It's Q, and there are Anons. Anons are the digital soldiers, the ones that dig, that bring the information to the surface. Q is okay. Before there was ever a Q, there was 8chan, there was 4chan, and that was more of the deeper, darker web that you couldn't have gotten into. Okay. Some people got into it. And the real intel, the real activities, things that were going on were there. And being talked about, understood. And then when Q came to light on a little bit different format, but not really, basically the same, a lot of things were coded, a lot of predictions, future predictions were put out there, and little snippets of information were put on a regular basis. Now, the Anons, you can call them anonymous, I call them digital soldiers, warriors, truth finders, put the pieces together so that they could bring to light to the everyday Joe, whoever that might be out there that is curious, but yet afraid of their own curiosity, finding out the truth, bringing out the real information of what's going on, who's involved. Not everything happened in what people thought was the timeline there is no timeline. There can't be a timeline. That would be like the military giving up their intelligence, their information. We're going to go to war here at this time on this day. We're going to take this equipment and we're going to go after this. No, they're not going to tell you those secrets. It's like, people were so shocked at Ukraine, happening. And I'm like, why? Why are they shocked?
Right.
It's no secret. Biden's got this property there. No secret that there's been money laundering going on there, child trafficking happening there. The bio labs that are there, multiples, that have been financed by, I'm just going to go with people like the Clintons and the DC elite, and more Canadian elite. I mean, all of them have been a part of it and laundering money through there and children. I know that you hear, and I'm kind of all over the board on this one, but you hear on a daily basis that there's 85,000 children that are missing from our border down here. Well, how long have they been screaming that same number? How long? It's like, are you kidding me? Come on now. And with what 27 states did, sending out their National Guard and some of their military and whatnot to help protect down there on the border, that was fantastic. And there's a whole lot less coming through now. Most of those people are tracked. They know exactly where they're at. There's no getting away. And if they want specific things to happen, they have to go back to the country.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you there, but to move you back on path. So is QAnon, again, what the perception of it, the way I understood it is, yes, it was basically the uncovering of corruption. Okay. And as they uncovered that corruption, like some of the examples you described, it led to a pinnacle, which ended up with basically child molestation and those types of things. I mean, atrocious crimes. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But can we safely conclude that what was the QAnon movement is along the lines of what you're privy to, and that is there are good guys making headway,
Absolutely.
gathering evidence. What's not clear is just to what point they are. You're privy to wisdom that says they're winning this thing hands down, and it's nothing but a deception being paraded for us, which I find peace in. I've told you that. I said, my God, if I could share your optimism, because I live in a world where unfortunately, it strikes me as it's sliding into the abyss, and there's not a damn thing we can do about it. But when I talk to you, you reassure me. So again, if we've got this clandestine effort, the search for truth, and you believe it's succeeding, let's shift gears here. What role does Donald Trump play? And why do you believe Donald Trump has become the pariah that he has?
They
Why
can't
is he
stand the
such a
fact.
lightning rod? What is it that the establishment hates about the guy?
They literally hate everything. When I don't know if you've ever had to do this, but sometimes there's information that takes place. There's people, there are groups, whatever, and sometimes you get involved with those people for a minute, right? And you find out what's really going on. All right, so then you got that. Now you got what you know, you got what you perceived, you've got your understanding. With when Trump was asked to do this, he did it wholeheartedly because he loves the American people. He loves everybody. He truly does. He's a kind man, but he's strong, and he scares the shit out of them because he knows all of them. He's been a part of their world. He understands their world, but he didn't get entrenched in their world where certain people did. And this has gone on since, I mean, I've talked to you about JFK, and he was going to expose it all back in his time. And then the execution, if you will, not really, but how many different stories about who killed JFK happened? There's people that were there that know, and people that are still alive today that know, and those that were part of that then have brought things forward and information and been involved with and compiled all the evidence against all these people, and this isn't just the United States. This is worldwide, every country, the atrocities that have taken place. And they're exposing it. They're eliminating the top dogs all the way down to the janitor.
You think that's the greatest fear that the establishment has with Donald Trump is the revelation of truth?
Yeah.
That's
a lot of it.
Because
and the military is behind him. They're in front of him. They're behind him. They're on top of him. They're below him. he's got the full armor of God.
Right. And so what she's suggesting, I believe, is that the military supports Donald Trump.
Absolutely.
Him. And so what do you foresee coming up in November? With because Lucinda, interject at any point here. I'm a believer, and I'm not sure if Lucinda agreed, but as the United States goes to the rest of the world. So on your side of the world, Lucinda, what are the perceptions of Donald Trump? What's the latest in terms of what you think with the upcoming American election?
I don't know what the mainstream view is, but I know over here in the so-called freedom movement, if you want to call it that, people just think that he's just another face of evil. They don't believe that he's a savior at all.
Okay.
I think he's just another one. Huh?
And why is that? Why do you believe that that's the perception of this guy? If he's another, so is there a savior, or as far as they're concerned, they're all evil?
Yeah.
Basically, we have to save ourselves. There's really nobody coming to save us. We have to save ourselves, and we have to decide the difference between whether we're going to continue to follow the path of, I'll just go with it, communism, control, or if we're going to go to the side of freedom of choice, free will, what are we going to do? How are we going to take it? Where are we going to take it? I'm going to switch something real quick, and that is this. Did you see the information on Bitcoin?
No.
Okay.
Talk to me.
You should look up Bitcoin and what's happening with it, because Bitcoin was the protege for the WEF, the one world money.
Right.
Okay. And that's tanking big time, being taken down. There's sorry, hang on, I gotta there's things out there that, like I've told you, Matt, we're going to go back to the gold standard. It's already in place. It's just, it hasn't been completely announced yet. Certain banks have to, follow Basel III, Basel IV, get on the QFS, which that's the quantum financial system versus the fiat system that everybody holds to be the, oh my gosh, money is king. It's not. It's crap. It's evil money. When you look at a triangle like this, right? Well, we want it the other way.
Got it.
We're taking a little up. We're going to just grow. We're going to expand. It's going to get better.
Right. Okay. So when you're talking financial scenarios. Again, I'm a believer that the empire on this planet it starts with those that control the money. Okay. And so I was maybe under the wrong perception that Bitcoin was a good thing. Right. So in other words, you're saying that the attempt to and you're saying Bitcoin now the value is dropping on Bitcoin, and
Yeah, and when you think about it, I mean, in order to be able to use your Bitcoin, you got a specific wallet. If you lose your password, you're screwed. All your coins, all your money, if you will, is gone. I've I
got it. Okay.
have so
But you're
many
saying
people that I know
the
that have
whole
gone
effort
bald.
was sinister?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I wasn't familiar with that. Um, okay,
Lucinda,
so
what do you
now
know about it?
I don't know a lot. I find it really, really complicated. But ultimately, to me, it's still digital, isn't it? You've got nothing in your hand. You know, if you invest in gold, you can hold that gold.
Absolutely.
You've got nothing in your hand, and that's, you know, if if uh if the end of the world comes, what have you got in your hand? What have you got to hold? Nothing.
Right.
You
That's
know, if
right.
Armageddon happens and we all lose the internet and everything else, you're stuffed, aren't you?
Yep. Yeah.
all right,
You
and
know,
so
and
what you're saying,
what we're
Amy,
gonna have
is
to do is we're gonna have to become creators again,
Yeah.
you know?
and you believe, Amy, that we're moving back toward the gold standard, the good guys are winning, things like Bitcoin will be snuffed out.
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right. Well, so um I like Lucinda's observation of Trump in terms of that's to me that's this general perception, and I believe that perception has been put forth by the establishment. Okay, because anytime you see comments about Trump, you note that they're all personal attacks. They don't like his character, they don't like his demeanor, they don't like this or that. But the moment it gets to what is the guy's agenda, okay, that when I decide, or what resonates most with me when it comes to someone's agenda is who are the people who hate him. And the fact that the Republicans lined up all these never Trumpers was clear to me. That says, okay, the establishment hates this guy. Why is that? And that's why I have unyielding support. I may not necessarily appreciate the way he fights in the narrative that he's using, but I certainly understand the need for it. And that's a nice segue into Lucinda. Are you familiar with the January 6th, what they're calling the insurrection over here?
Yeah, only from my conversations with you, Matt. Yeah.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Um, my understanding of it, and Amy's going to beg to differ. She's going to have a different perspective of it, but it struck me as no different than America's original Boston Tea Party. Okay. It really was the exact same thing. It's simply patriots that think as I think, that we need to curtail the size and scope of this monster called the American government. These people went to Washington. I believe they were set up. Okay, that they obviously the establishment knows exactly what the plan is, and I believe it was all a charade. And if you look at the indictments of Donald Trump, they call it an insurrection. When I hear the word insurrection and I couple that with American ideals, in my world, insurrections are as good as it gets. You need an insurrection. Okay. Our government, anybody who believes the American government, which is for the people, by the people, shouldn't allow an insurrection. Okay. And again, it was nonviolent, but that's my perspective of it. To me, January 6th was a massive turning point, and the only thing that separates January 6th from the Boston Tea Party is the wrong party won. It would be no different than England stomping out the Patriots. So that's my perspective of it. And the irony is that's why I was kicked off Facebook, is I was not allowed to have that perception that says, yeah, these were my freedom fighters. They went to protest at the Capitol. I watched the videos as the security guards were helping them up the steps. They said, come on in. And then they locked the door, started firing, and said, okay, that's my perception of it. Amy, what do you think of January 6th?
Well, when the call came for people to go there, first of all, I told a lot of people not to go, which a lot of people that I know went anyway. They had a really good time. They met a lot of other patriots. They didn't get hung up on the garbage. What was happening during Trump's speech at that, especially towards the end, the last 10 minutes, when you think about that, the last 10 minutes, here are all these patriots that are still with Trump. He was saying, walk peacefully. He wanted it peaceful. But it was about having the establishment see we did not believe in what they did in stealing another election, and who the true president is. Now, while all this was taking place over here on this end of the grounds, what was taking place over here were people that were sort of dressed in patriot gear, not fully. Most of them were in black. They had a few flags, whatever. Some of them had their, mega hats or whatever they had going on, but they were screaming to take the house. Patriots don't do that. American people don't behave like that. Those were animals. Those were paid animals that were brought in on buses, flown in from wherever, some from Colorado, to do this, to create a big situation for the media to make it out that we, the people, you and I, Matt, are bad. We're against the government. We're against the truth. We're against everything. We're not against everything, but we are against the lies. We're against the deceit. We're against them stealing from us. We're against them filling their fat pockets every day with our money and not doing with it what they're supposed to do for the people, So it was quite the fantastic scene. I mean, I watched people insert capsules, and these are used for theatrics, in their mouths and make it look like they got hit, and spew blood, and I'm like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? You got Pelosi's daughter in with one of her BLM friends, laughing and carrying on about how that they were able to successfully make this happen with the so-called police that were there. The help, like you said, they were brought in. The gates were open. The doors were opened. They were given literal tools and tours. When you look at what was being videoed, mainly with the guy with the horns, little operative there, but unless you have ever been there and have ever been on a guided tour, you don't get into certain areas. Now, if you're a political figure, you get in deeper than the average paying customer walking through that door, and these fake cops and paid actors that led them through, that's what it was. And they did it to create a big divide. And divide is everything. If you can keep the good people and the bad people divided, and good people are going to do bad things. They're just going to. Sometimes they get caught up in something that they didn't necessarily mean to. There was an older gentleman that got caught up. He got excited. We're going to get to go inside, and they're taking pictures peacefully, but then all of a sudden now he's arrested as an insurrectionist, but it wasn't the intent to do any damage. And while all this was taking place and all the garbage was taking place, what was happening is computers were left behind, cell phones were left behind. Who gathered all of them? Who took them all? Who got all the information? Who took all that information and compiled everything? When you saw Nancy Pelosi leaving, who did she leave with? And how did she leave?
What? Tell me.
She left with U.S. Marshals in handcuffs.
Okay. Yeah.
And because people are just focused on this particular thing, they're not seeing it. But once they go back and they start looking at different things, they actually see it. It's like, do you remember the video of Hillary when she collapsed going into that van?
Yes.
The 9/11 deal? Right. Who was it? She was in handcuffs.
Okay.
She was in handcuffs. How many people paid attention to it? They're like, oh my God, Hillary collapsed. Is she okay? Yeah,
Right.
well, she shit her pants because she was on her way to tribunals.
Okay. So
Bye.
Lucinda, can you see this perspective is unique, right? In terms of who's winning this battle between good and evil.
Well, I certainly agree that in protests you always get the crisis actors, etc. The people.
Oh, yeah.
You get that small element that's there to cause trouble, and they've got nothing to do with whatever the cause of the protest is. They're just there to make trouble. And then, as you say, that's all the mainstream focuses on, is like, oh, this has kicked off. But really, it's just been a peaceful protest with these other people that are nothing to do with that just cause trouble.
Absolutely.
I certainly agree with that. Yeah.
So, Amy, can we safely conclude that that January 6th was an orchestrated trap set forth by the American deep state?
Yes.
Can we safely conclude that JFK was killed by the American government or the files wouldn't be classified?
Yes. But
Can
I
we
don't believe
safely-
that I don't believe that he was killed at the time.
Okay.
Look
Okay.
back on who was there. Look back at who some of the Secret Service was, who some of the guard were, and you'll see who is involved. It's not
Okay.
just today. You'll see Bush. You'll
Okay.
see Biden. You'll see a number of them that are there.
Okay.
Look at old pictures. Start looking back.
Um,
And that's what people don't see. They don't hear it. They don't see it. They don't recognize it because they don't want to. Again, cognitive dissonance. It goes
Right.
against what they've been told, what they hear, what they see. If they can't see it, feel it, touch it, smell it, they're not going to want to believe it.
right.
And it's sad because there's so many of us out here that are doing it, that are there, that are involved, that are going to these things, that are deeper into certain things than what may be spoken of, that we tell the truth, and it's not just to tell the truth. We don't want to just hear ourselves talk. We want you to understand this is what's going on. We want you to see exactly what's going on. We're sharing
Right.
it.
Got it. And these people have clear reason to hide the truth.
Absolutely, they sure do, because of their involvement and the things that they've done, especially child not only trafficking, but the sacrifices that they've made, that they've done.
Yep.
Disgusting.
Yep. Would it be safe to conclude that the election in 2020 was won by Donald Trump, and if it wasn't for cheating, he'd still be president?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And actually, Matt, Trump is the president. He's the president of the republic. He's not the president of the United States corporation. He is our true president.
Right.
He dissolved the corporation in his first term.
Okay.
First year, it was dissolved. Same with the Fed. Federal Reserve. Bye. It's been taken care of. You mentioned about the celebrities and their homes that are for sale. Oh, don't I know it? I live out here in California. I see it every day. I know what's going on. And yeah, they're taking all the assets and they're putting them in a place. I won't say exactly where because I just won't. But it's being put in place that money, that wealth of just The wealth is going to be distributed worldwide. This
Okay.
isn't just about what's happening here in our country. It's other countries and where the money has been. You look under the Vatican and what's taking place there, Lucinda, I'm sure you know a lot about that. You know, the things that they found, the tunnels that they found, the gold, the old Bibles. I mean, the real ones, that have been kept from us for how many years, you know, all that is going to be coming to the surface, to the light for people to see, and they're not going to believe it. I mean, it's going to be huge.
You can see
It's very
she's
exciting.
optimistic about the future, Lucinda.
Yeah, well, that's
All right.
great. I'm
So now,
glad
Lucinda,
somebody.
you were touching on that. You mentioned Oprah Winfrey. So elaborate a
Yeah,
little bit on that.
yeah. Somebody sent me. I'll just see if I can find it. Somebody sent me a WhatsApp of a guy doing a pod. Yeah, something very strange is happening. Don't know the
What's
name of
your
the guy.
what's your understanding of it,
Well,
and
somebody
why
had
is it
told
significant?
this guy, oh look, loads of people, loads of celebrities are selling off all their properties, and he wanted to check whether this was true or whether it was just a load of nonsense. And apparently it is true. And the idea behind it, his idea, was that they're selling off all their properties because they know something dire is going to happen, like another nuclear war. They're selling off their properties, going into their underground bunkers because they are aware that this nuclear war is going to happen.
There's not going to be a nuclear war.
Well,
That's just not
I
going to
don't
happen.
necessarily buy it. And anyway,
Yeah.
I thought to myself, but okay, so let's say you were them. What's the point of that? You're living in a very nice prison, aren't you? You're safely in your underground bunker, but eventually you've got to come out of there. How are you going to survive with no natural daylight over an extended period of time? Eventually you're going to run out of food, and they need a certain amount of us plebs, don't they, to produce things for them. So it's absolutely ridiculous. If you follow that thought to its natural conclusion, it's absolutely ridiculous. You're better off, if there is a nuclear war, you're better off being the first one in the firing line, aren't you? Because what kind of a world is going to be left for you to live in? It's utterly ridiculous.
Right.
And then you get another load of conspiracy theorists that say that there are absolutely no such thing as nuclear weapons anyway, and that whole thing is an utter load of rubbish just created to frighten us. So I just think that when you're like us and you've gone down all those rabbit holes, as we've said before, Matt, you end up you just don't know what to believe, and it's best to believe nothing because everything's a lie. You just don't know. You just don't know what the reality is.
No.
Yes.
And I mean,
And
the three of us can sit here and talk all day long, and our reality is slightly different from each other. Our experiences are slightly different, but at the end of the day, we're basically on the same page
Yeah.
when it comes to what's happening and how do we help and relay this to people for them to understand it, for them to believe it, and for them to not implode.
Well,
Because that's going to happen. I mean, the prices of everything going up the way that it is, everything happening the way that it is, it's all by design. We know it. They know it. We just
it's
got to
like
put a stop.
it's like in AA, Matt. They say that everybody has to reach their own personal low, don't they, until they can confront their addiction. And in a way, I think this is similar. I don't, like you said, Amy, right at the top of the show, you can lay everything out in front of somebody, references, research, the whole kit and caboodle. But if they're not ready to see or hear that, then you're wasting your time. And I
Yeah.
think as we get squeezed and squeezed and squeezed, everybody will come to that point in their own good time. But hopefully not too late in the day.
well, in
Yeah.
that
I hope
regard,
not.
go ahead, Amy.
No, I was just saying, I hope that it's not too late. I think more and more people are waking up to what's taking place. They're seeing it. And the young people are surprising because I really wasn't counting on too many of them, but they're waking up their parents. And, some of these parents are in their 30s, and can't believe it. We're here we're dealing with parents that are in their 70s and 80s, and
Right.
and waking them up as well as the rest, you know. So there's more that are coming around. They're starting to see what's going on. So, and I think that it won't be too late. But Matt, you asked a question about the election, and my opinion is when you listen to Trump speaking, he talks about voting at the caucuses, right?
Okay.
Okay. So I personally will be very surprised if we have a 24 election. I think that there's going to be some major things. March is going to be crazy with information coming out. But there's going to be some major things that are going to happen and occur that I think are going to really switch gears on that whole election thing.
Okay, and let me add one more piece to the puzzle. Alex Sakaris, our good friend.
Oh,
If
yes.
you've listened to any of his recent podcasts, he's really digging deep into the AI, asking them
Yeah.
questions and exposing. And because of AI, this whole conclusion that we're discussing that says, all right, ground zero here, not ground zero, but reaching the bottom to where the society wakes up, that thing is on rocket speed because of AI. Is some of the conclusions that he drew. So it might be like Amy's predicting that we won't even see possibly a 2024 election. The the uh the just the divide and the strength of those of us that recognize that the leading culprit in all this is the American government for the most part. I'm
For everything.
convinced too that the next few months here leading through November are going to be eventful.
Yeah,
And I'm with you, man. We might as well get our popcorn and enjoy it. And
absolutely.
if it means the end of times, I can honestly say I'm getting a little sick of this human gig anyways, and I'm pretty excited about the next chapter.
Well, the end of times, Matt, that's funny because when you think about it, 1984, 1999, people were like, oh my God, 1999, 2000, the Mayan calendar comes to an end, blah, blah, blah. It's the end of, it's the end of that. It's
Of
the
that.
end of all the ugly, all the negative. It's the end, and it's going to be what we're going to make it. And I think that we're going to be able to come out of this really good, and everybody's going
Can
to
you see
live
that,
a different life.
Lucinda? Can you see the optimism in this one?
Well, I can, of course, I can.
Yeah,
Yes.
she truly believes the good guys are winning, and when all's said and done, we're going to win this thing.
Well,
Absolutely.
I hope it's soon, and I hope it's in my lifetime.
Listen, it definitely will be. Just keep
I'm
an eye
hoping
on
it's between
different
now and
things.
November.
Do you watch the different businesses and things that are going on with the different companies, right?
Not
Yeah.
as much as I should.
Okay. There's a
Go
lot
ahead.
of layoffs taking place, and a lot of jobs are being taken over by AI, robots, etc. And that's okay, because guess what? We have to work on those robots. We keep them functioning too. But the big companies that are going down and that are laying off, there's a reason behind that. Their support, what they've done, what they've been involved with, they're all going to go bye-bye. A lot of big banks. I mean, I know you've Deutsche Bank, Deutsche Bank. That
Deutsche.
one's Deutsche. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
most recent one that's kind of hitting the tank right now. But there's a few thousand banks that have already closed and gone down, and then they're talking about, the corporate government is talking about, lightly, not real loud yet, but it's coming. You'll hear it a little bit on the news, those propagandists, the mockingbirds, talk about bail-ins, not bailouts. We had bailouts. Remember that? 2008. But now we're looking at bail-ins. And what does that mean? What does that mean for the people? Not just American people, but people worldwide.
I don't know. Tell me.
Banks have a certain insurance that they allow per account, say 250,000, right? So they'll insure your account up to that. But if you have more than that, your money needs to be spread out. But what happens is when they do the bail-in, they can take all your money. And there's not a thing you can do about it. Not a thing. You lose it all. Bye. So unless
Right.
you have Matt, and I keep screaming this to you,
I
I
know,
don't
silver and
care
gold.
if you buy one piece of silver today, buy another one next week. As long as you start getting it, you're going to have something tangible in your hands that you're going to be able to use.
Yeah.
And you've got to do it. You've got to do it.
I'm
I
with
agree
you.
with that.
I'm with you.
Please, next time we talk, I want to hear that you bought from the company I sent you to, because they're fantastic. And they're in the United States. They're in Oklahoma. Just please start buying it. I don't
All
care.
right.
$30. $30 can get you, a start on silver.
Right. Right.
And I'm not in
And
that
I'm
to make
with you.
money.
I'm
I
with
just
you.
like the company. I've been buying from them for years. That's what I do.
Yep.
Because
Yep. Good words of
gotta have
wisdom.
something.
All right. So,
And have a garden.
yeah, she has an okay. So let's, Amy, why don't you give us a parting thought here? Kind of wrap up what you'd like the listeners to take away from your contribution today.
Yeah, I just hope that they'll look into some of the things that I've said, start paying attention to who the real leaders are, who the real truth tellers are. And you have to be careful of who you follow online. Be very, very careful, because not everybody really knows and really is telling solid truth. There's still disinformation that's being put out there, sadly. But I don't know. I just see that there's going to be a lot of really great things coming. And I hope that people recognize that and they don't get so caught up in the doom and the gloom of the everyday, conversation and news and whatever they're hearing on the radio. And they see the positive, see the good. Because there's a lot. There's a lot. There's a lot of beautiful things that we've got, and we need to be thankful for all of it.
I
That's about it.
absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. Lucinda, talk to
Well,
me, my friend.
yeah, well, somebody told me the other day that they'd been to a conference in London, and it was a sort of minor charity. And there were people there, indigenous peoples there from all over the world, Venezuela, Africa, all different places. And there was a group of women, for instance, who were sitting, they were trying to preserve their local river because it was so polluted by some kind of big organization. And this organization was trying to drive them off the land because they wanted to take over the land. And these women refused to go. And they said, we owe our lives to the river, and we're going to carry on looking after the river. And they were just sitting there drinking tea, refusing to be moved off their land. And there was another woman who had a dream. And in the dream, she just started walking, and she didn't know where she was walking to, but she just began walking. And eventually she realized she was walking to the government. And by the time she'd got there, she'd got 15,000 other people walking with her. And there were all these little stories about all these different indigenous small communities doing their bit. And as I said to you before, Matt, I think that's how it's going to happen. It's not going to be some big savior at the top. It's going to be little groups of communities that save the world.
I absolutely love it. Yep. And my guess is that we're going to see things unfold rather quickly here, and that's a good thing because it's been a long time coming, right?
Just
So
remember, it's all here. It's all here. What we do here is what we put out there.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Well, you two girls, thank you so much for your time. You're absolutely beautiful and brilliant. And the
Well, you
world,
both
we might be signing the both of you up here to become leaders of the free world at some point. Women should rule this world. You two. All right, you girls, thank you so much for your time. I'll go ahead and produce this, and I'll throw you links. Okay.
Okay.
All
Thank
right.
Lovely
you.
to meet you, Amy.
You too,
Yes.
Lucinda. Bye, Matt.
Bye, Lucinda.
Bye.
Bye, Amy.
Bye.
Pleasure, my friends.
Bye.
Bye-bye.